Well, welcome to the AdBeacon live workshop. I'm your host, Sabir Semerkant. I'm going to, today I have the pleasure of having Phoenix Ha. She's the founder and CEO of AdBeacon, one of the platforms that I definitely endorse, love it, and Phoenix is gonna explain why I love it so much. You know. Uh, what Phoenix is going to do is end up actually saving a lot of your companies a lot of money by making your experiences on Meta ads and Google ads and other ad platforms more profitable by understanding the true nature of ROAS, where if you run your business, your ecom business strictly on what Meta ads tells you or Google ads tells you, and then at the end of the day, you don't see the cash flow there or you don't see the behavior that you're hoping for, mainly because that platforms usually like to give credit to themselves for everything that happens on your business. So not the best place to go to get the source of truth. So that's one of the reasons I love the platform AdBeacon for that reason. And I would like to welcome Phoenix to the live workshop here and hand it over to her. And I might interrupt her with a question here and there. And what I would recommend to the audience is if in the chat window, if you could, as you're going through, as Phoenix is going through these things, if she asks questions or anything like that, that
existing followers
that
getting your content, we have had a hard time reaching our audience.
All right, sorry about that. I had to mute everyone. Phoenix, if you could unmute yourself. So Phoenix, take it away. Welcome to the e-commerce growth mastermind live workshop. It's your show. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you all. I'm really excited to be here. Sabir and I kind of teamed up and we had like a meeting of the minds, and I think we completely aligned. So I'll dive straight in. A lot of what I'm going to show you is explaining what attribution is, explaining what the problem has been, and then what the solution is. I'll also show you our platform and why it's such a game changer. I think it's really important to be a resource. That's the most important thing as we partner with Sabir. If you guys have questions, like we are the experts in terms of tracking and attribution, feel free to ask them. It's what we do. But if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a little presentation I'd like to share with you guys. It's always easier just to follow along. Can everyone see it? Awesome.
Yes.
Amazing. All right, so right off the bat, I like to just structure things, and I'll show you what the issues were. I like to primarily showcase Meta or Facebook because that's where it first started, but it's across the board everywhere now, especially with Google Analytics 4, Google Ads, all that. It's all becoming more black box, and black box just means gray area, right? We just don't know what's happening. And then we have view attribution. We'll talk about first-party data, and then I'll show you the results via case studies. And I think case studies are the most important thing. Sabir has many, I do as well. That's what you have to prove what you're doing, right? So let's go ahead and start. Some problems in Facebook reporting. I like to start in 2022. This is when it actually hit in 2021, maybe 2021, end of 2022. There's three different things that it really impacted. The first one is something called delayed attribution. And if you're not familiar with what attribution is, the most simple way to put it is who gets credit for a sale or conversion within a certain amount of time. So who is Meta, Google, Facebook, whatever you want to call it. And then a certain amount of time is it a 7-day window, 28-day window? There was a delay there. The delay was 3 days. So a conversion could have happened today and you wouldn't know about it in Meta for 3 days. That's a big problem, right? Because you can't make decisions quickly. The second thing is there was missing data and data gaps. And mind you, I will show you all of this because I took screenshots when it was happening, thinking that I was like seeing things. It was real. And then there was blind scaling and optimizations. How are you supposed to know where to put money if you don't know if the data is correct? That's really terrifying. So right off the bat, I want to show you guys right here. As you can see, there were 4 purchases made. This is like a screenshot of Meta, right? 4 purchases made, but there was no purchase conversion value. That's terrifying because you don't know, especially if you have multiple SKUs. And let's pretend that you have one SKU and it's $49.99. So you can make an estimation of how much revenue that would have been. You can do your own calculations. But when you have multiple SKUs, that just goes all over the place. And then again, it happened here. Sometimes it would show me a purchase conversion value and no purchases. It was just all over the place. And that's something I just don't like to play around with. That 3-day window of delayed data caused so many issues. So like Sabir was saying, you've got Shopify or WooCommerce or BigCommerce, whatever you're on, and it's telling you this is your number. And it's going to try to tell you, oh, well, it came from Facebook or it came from Google or it came from here, right? And then it gives you one number. Then you go to Google Analytics, and then it gives you a different number. And then you go to Meta, and then it gives you a different number. And you go, which one do I make decisions off of? This is really confusing. And I firmly believe, and I think Sabir agrees with me, all that matters is what's in your bank account at the end of the day and that you're profitable. And that's where we discovered first-party data. And I'll explain why this opens our eyes to everything. But let's talk about a few different things. So the number one thing is we talked about missing data or data gaps. But something we also don't talk about is inflation of data. So what will also happen is that Meta, Google, all these platforms will say, wow, you're making all this money. And then you go to your store and you're like, I'm not making nearly that. Everybody wants credit for that sale. Why do you think that there's such an inflation? Why is there such a discrepancy in terms of how much revenue is being attributed to each one of these platforms? And there's something called view attribution. So there's two forms of attribution. There is view and there is click. Click is very straightforward. If you clicked my ad within a certain amount of time, I will get credit or I will be able to see it. View is a little bit more up in the air. It's a blend of metrics that every single platform has created to say, we get credit. So it could be a side eye of looking at I like to call it the grandma click or the grandma view. Your grandma's just like scrolling through and maybe she just pauses on one thing for a long period of time and then she moves over, right? Or she clicks on an ad, she goes to your website and she fumbles out, which is why your bounce rate is through the roof. Like grandma, right? I don't want grandma to be included with my view attribution metrics. What I have seen in multiple accounts, because we have access to so many and we get to talk to our clients, is it's almost a 60 to 70% inflation in the view category versus click. That is dangerous because, again, that's a variable we can't prove versus click we can. So I like to explain this here. Facebook will tell Shopify, hey, we brought you the sale, and maybe one out of the two is true. And it's just, again, it's just blended. It's a lot of over-reporting. So because of this, a lot of my clients were like, is it time to jump ship? Should we give up on Facebook? Should we give up on advertising? And I say, no, there's a way and there's a solution. And it's something called first-party data and AdBeacon, which is our platform. We do things completely different. So instead of listening to what Meta, Google, all these platforms are telling us in terms of revenue, we start at your Shopify, WooCommerce, and BigCommerce store. We start at the conversion. So if Sabir bought that blue shirt that he's wearing, I will know he bought. I will know his first and last name, customer ID, order ID, what he purchased. And then I track back everything that led to that sale. So did he click on this campaign? Did he click on this? Did he click on an organic? Did he click on all of these things? I can see it versus relying on a third-party platform. Now I can see clearly what happened. Now, there are multiple ways for us to look at attribution models. I probably won't go too in depth with these, Sabir, because they do get a little intense. But first and last click is just basically first click kind of gives you an idea of how do people discover you? How do people discover your product? Last click is going to be, well, how do people actually convert, right? And mind you, if you only look at first click, then you completely forget about everything that led to the conversion. And if you only look at last click, you're forgetting about everything that led to that conversion. They're both very important, but it's something to take note of. Linear is just going to give you equal credit across all the different clicks. And as we grow together in this program, we'll get more granular with it. Sabir will guide you on which attribution model he feels is perfect for his program, but this is just a high level for you to see. So right off the bat, I want to show you why there's such a giant discrepancy. And I told you there was going to be. So this is our reported revenue. This is going to be what Meta in this example is reporting. And this is what we are reporting. This ROAS is what we are reporting. This is what Meta is reporting. Do you see the discrepancies? So I might have spent a lot of money in this campaign because I'm getting a 3.44 return. But we are only showing a 1.58, and we have the data to prove it. And I'll show that to you. So when you start putting money in the wrong places, you're going to lose that money. It's going to go all over the place, and you have to make educated and better decisions. So what I was showing you is now, if I want to see, okay, is this actually true? I want to know, all right, Eddie Wu bought at this specific time. This was his order ID total. This is the entire journey that led to the sale. They clicked on this campaign, then they went into organic Google search, and now I know that they bought these products. This is a game changer. So now you're able to see everything in depth and then make better decisions. Oh, we zoomed out pretty intense. So I just like to start off and say, hey, case studies are the most important thing. I actually took 3 different companies of 3 different genres and categories of business. And I said, let's test this theory. If I only optimized off of the AdBeacon data that we tracked, are we going to be okay? And let me just start off by telling you, this is a terrifying thing to do. Somebody who, I like to call myself a purist. I loved working in Meta and all these platforms. That's what I learned everything in. It's hard to look at another set of data and go, I'll do it, but I did it. And right off the bat, first 14 days, this is where we were. Then as the next weeks that came, we started to see a really nice rise, not only in spend, but revenue, volume of purchases, and ROAS. So we actually spent less in this category and went up 12%. And then we said, okay, we're good to go. We're going to keep increasing. And we kept doing it. And I started to see rises across the board. And the first question I always get is, well, if you're improving in AdBeacon, are you improving in Meta as well? Yes. There is a parallel between both, I noticed. So you can see when we first started, we were here, we spent less, we got more. I like to prove it. We spent a little bit more and we kept growing. So we really did help this client scale. And that's the most important thing is all they did, the only change they made was they plugged in AdBeacon and they just made decisions off of first-party data. And that's, again, huge. So these were the 3 categories of business. So this is Safariland. They are a gun holster company. For those of you who are like, how do you sell gun holsters? There's a trick to it. It's basically never have a weapon in sight. It is an accessory and you have to completely scrape the entire website, but it is a very profitable genre of business or category of business. They had an insane 1,600% increase in ROAS from week 1 to today. This is, again, the case study was all the way into 2022, or sorry, 7/22, I think it was last year. So this is good to see. Next, it's going to be Jazz Upco. This is a cutlery brand. So actually, it's not even cutlery. It's like spoons and forks. What do we call that? We would call it cutlery, right? They also saw a nice rise, right? And it was a consistent rise over time. And then this one right here, Cam, they sell like, you basically like hold your camera on your screen so you're able to speak directly to people. We saw a really nice rise as well. And then again, this is a supplement / telehealth company, New Image. They also saw a really nice slope. So it's a consistent slow burn up sometimes. Sometimes it's an immediate one, but it's extremely important to make those decisions. Now, as I'm showing you all of this, this is just a small drop in the bucket of what we do. I'm just talking about optimization, but I'm excited to show you all the other things we can talk about, like reporting, all the things you can see in terms of how to understand how your customers find you and buy from you. But I'll stop sharing right here and give us a pause. Sabir, you want to go into anything before I do a screen share?
Well, yeah, one thing that you mentioned earlier, you showed that snapshot of where Meta Ads was saying the ROAS was 3.44, right? And with AdBeacon is 1.58. The difference between those two, if you continuously make a decision on that 3.44, unfortunately, that's what leads to e-com businesses going bankrupt. on average, your business needs to be, depending on your strategy. I mean, whether it's customer acquisition or retention, right? Oh, it should be both. Your ROAS that you should be shooting for should be above 2.5, like 2.2, 2.5 is that means that at least you didn't lose money, you acquired a customer, but then your retention game needs to be really strong, so that that business that kept on investing because the dashboard told you 3.44 from meta ads, at the end of the year, this is what happens. And in fact, that business is going to overspend because they will become overconfident for Q4, which is coming up for all of us, right? And then January comes and they have nothing in the bank, right? You go like, but Meta told me that I'm supposed to be making all this money. Where is it? And there's no cash flow because that was not a true number, right? And so that's a huge red flag. I would say it's a red flag for your businesses if you see that. And this is where the value of a platform like AdBeacon gives you that first-party data, so that you're looking at it completely unbiased. Because if the analytics is given to you by the platform, that's completely biased. There's some value to it, but it's completely biased unless you have very advanced experience in these platforms. You're not going to understand what they're showing you. This is one of the reasons that you have to look at a platform like AdBeacon to actually guide you and guide your decisions. And by the way, thank you for sharing those case studies. The thing is, I'm from New York, but I usually say that I'm from Missouri because people from Missouri that's the show me state. So let's do this. Let's jump into the back end of the AdBeacon, and so that people can actually see what the platform looks like, what the reports look like, and so on and so forth. And I'm gonna go on mute. I'm gonna let you do your thing.
You're good. I'll play a really fun game really quick before we move on, just to make sure everyone's alive. But number one is, Google Analytics favors who? Type it in the chat. Just take a stab at it. Google Analytics favors what platform? I don't know if everyone's able to comment. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and feed it to you. I think it's only to the direct you, Sabir, but Google Analytics favors.
Yeah, so Dan says Google. Joy says Google. So everybody's basically saying Google.
Google. Meta favors Meta. And that's my point, is that we are a channel agnostic platform. We don't care who gets credit. We just need to prove it. So I will show you through the proof, but that's why I always like to start there, because a lot of people are like, well, I have GA4. What's the difference? Why are you smarter than Google? It's not that we're smarter, it's we are not biased. We are not a Google product. We are not a Facebook product. We are not an anything product other than AdBeacon, and we're here to show transparency. So just some refreshers there. Based off what you were saying, Sabir, we actually have integrations with Meta, Google, Bing, TikTok, Pinterest, and Snapchat. I always like to show Meta here. But we were just talking about like the differences, right, between what Meta is reporting, what we're reporting. These are fantastic numbers. Like, I'm fully aware of this, guys. So this is really, really strong that they're getting such a high return. And I hope for this for you. But again, you have to make a decision of which one do I believe? And that's a pretty large discrepancy. That's a huge $307,000 versus $493,000 in revenue. And like I was telling you, is I can go to this view order section and I can tell you each and every person who bought by clicking this campaign, ad set, or ad. I can tell you their entire journey that led to that sale, versus all these other platforms are not allowed to show this to you. So you can feel more confident about where you're spending your money. But look at this long journey. They started here and they kept going and going and going. And then they finally came through. Product, this is the coupon code and the contact information. So we were talking about the Sabir. Sabir is a firm believer in something called RFM. And I just showed you one example of a customer. But what if that's a returning customer? What if that's a new customer? What if that's a customer that buys frequently And I think I heard you say this in the last workshop. It said, what if they're a one-hit wonder? Maybe we don't want to re-engage with them. So this is how we rank your customers. We rank them by how recent they buy, how frequent they buy, and how much they buy. Those are 3 categories. And we rank them from 1 to 5, 1 being the least best and 5 being the best. And again, your champions are a 4 to 5 in each category. I'll zoom in here. Your champions are a 4 to 5 in each category. Your at-risks are X, Y, Z, right, within each category. We'll be able to tell you your percentage in which you are in these categories. But we believe firmly that there's a read and react format. You shouldn't just be reading data. You need to do something about that data. So we actually created an audience section here for you. And you can actually create those audiences. And let's just say the about to sleep, we can show you exactly who fits in that category. We already built it for you, and you can actually directly integrate it within your Meta, Google, and TikTok platforms. So if you look at this here, I can actually click on this and integrate, and it creates that audience for you. Great for exclusions, great for lookalike audiences, great for direct targeting. So again, huge actionable data. So you now find out, oh, these are all my customers. This is considered a customer database platform as well. We're taking all your customers and we're understanding where they fit and how to re-engage with them. So it's not expensive for you to continuously talk to them. You're saving money every step of the way. Now, speaking of saving money, I want to talk about something on the attribution side. Because we're able to track the entire journey, what if I just aggregated all of it and understood how people are finding you and how people are buying from you? So we can actually tell you by your new customers, by your returning customers. Right now, I'm just filtering by all. That within this timeline, 194 orders were bought by clicking on 1 paid search ad first and then 2 clicks on referral. These were the average days to order and average touch points to order. So if you find out, for example, that paid search is really great at first touch and Meta is really great at last touch, then you can optimize towards that. But let's just say we want to look only at returning customers. How are returning customers coming back to you? If you find out that it's via email and not through paid channels, maybe you stop spending money on people, again, in terms of re-engagement on paid channels, because it's costing you way more money and they would have come back anyway. So this is a really great way to validate that. I'm sure Sabir is going to have some fun ways of utilizing this for the program, but this is something that you can take note of, and it's combing through a lot of data right now. So just give me 1 second. So again, actually paid search again, but only 36 orders. But again, organic search, direct traffic, organic. So you really don't need to be spending that much money. It looks like paid search is the best option here. What we're also really good at in terms of understanding I would say like maybe the value of each platform is, now let's look at this in terms of revenue. So if I know that, for example, Google search, the first touch, how they discover you, is worth $131,000, then you know that's really strong first touch. But what about last touch? What looks like a lot of people just come through direct, they type in your brand name here and they just buy from you directly. But if it's last click, it's about $84,000 worth of revenue. This is good at first and last click. Let's look at what channel this is. Oh, surprise, Meta. Meta often, in my experience, is not the best at last touch, but it depends on your business. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But now we have a monetary value behind it. And before you make a decision to turn off a channel, maybe look at linear, because it's all the touches in between. And maybe it's a huge impact in the middle of the funnel, and you didn't realize it, and now you turn it off, and now you're risking $21,000 worth of revenue. And maybe that's okay, and you can reallocate it somewhere else, but this is a great data-centric way of making decisions before you turn things off. Awesome. So there's some really cool reports in here that I think are important. For example, my favorite is the orders report. We actually have a time analysis. We'll go by source. We can tell you the average length of time it takes a customer to buy your product. But what we're also able to do is show you by channel how long it takes. So for example, it takes people 67 days if they first discover you on Meta for this client to buy, versus Google is 16 days. Something to acknowledge, right? Really interesting. And this is all calculated by first touch. So if they first found you, that's how it's transcribed all the way through. But we're also able to show you some really fun insights. Did you know that Tuesday is your best day for orders? Like easily. This is, again, I'm going through a whole month's worth of data. Tuesdays were clearly the best days. What about hours of the day? Because you might be using Klaviyo or MailChimp or whatever you're using, and sometimes they will tell you, oh, actually 1 a.m. is the best time. And you're going, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. AdBeacon pulls your store data, so we know for sure that 1 a.m. is not the best time. The best time is probably maybe a 7 or 8 a.m., expecting that they'll open it throughout the day. This is a high tide season, or it's high tide time. Sabir, I don't know if you're playing around with different like time specific. Oh, you are. Okay, great. So you can do your buying that way as well.
Day of the week and time of day on all channels. You have to know when your audience, it's funny that a lot of people post on Instagram based on when their followers are on, right? In order to get the most likes and comment. But when it comes to their business on email and running ads and stuff, you could also do it. I mean, even though some of the ad platforms might limit you. I mean, Google Ads allows you to just do time of day. It has been there for a long time. In case of Meta, I think it's limited to if you do a lifetime budget, then you can control time of day in that, unless you run multiple ads at different times. So one other thing I want to say, earlier you were talking about RFM. It has to do with the customer journey too, right? The combination of both of those. Let me just here we go. So that you have to know recency, frequency, monetary value, but also understand the digital consumer journey from first touch to the last touch, where you're giving the attribution, everything in the middle too. So that, because there has been so many situations that business owners said that, oh, you know what, Pinterest is somewhere in the middle, but it's a waste of money. Why are we spending money on it? They pulled it out. As soon as they pulled it out, their revenue fell on the other side because it is a digital touch point. You have to understand the middle parts of it too. Like what part of that journey is actually attributing to that journey, right? And if you pull something in from the middle, you might actually end up hurting your entire business.
Right. Exactly. I did things a little backwards, and I didn't really give much of a background of myself, and I'll do that probably towards the end because it'll really show light as to why we built this platform. But, as we got more advanced with our clientele, because I came from agency world, I came from, having a book of business of 40 accounts just on myself, and no one account has been the same, but there's a similar structure. And as they got more advanced, people wanted to acquire new customers at the lowest cost possible, and they wanted to, re-engage with existing customers, and they really focused on lifetime value now rather than the immediate sale, which I know Sabir is aligned with. So because of that, we built this report that looks at your new customers versus returning customers. We actually break it down by channel, product, coupon code, and city. So the reason why this exists is now I can tell you what channels are best at acquiring new customers versus returning customers and at what rate. Then we can actually deduce down to the product. So are we actually showcasing the best product for new customers in your best channels for new customers? And then again, we'll kind of go through it, but right off the bat, I want to look at orders, organic search, paid social, email. This is new versus returning, how much revenue it's driving, the cost per acquisition for each, the total AOV. So now you have a full analysis of new versus returning in a very robust way where you can make better decisions and understand, how do I decrease my cost per acquisition as best as possible? Because paid search right now is really high for returning customers. It's $281.44. Versus on Meta, it was only $51 versus, I think this is organic, right? It's 99 cents. So you might have like this client actually has a really strong organic channel. So re-engaging customers on organic might be the best route. But we also do this by product. So again, what is the best product I should be featuring in, I would say maybe like a paid search for new customers? So if I'm looking at this, it should be the Incog X, right? Actually, let me go by new customers. It should be the Incog X holster. And I'll be able to see here, is there a trend that's happening with this product too? Like, is there product fatigue? You might be having a promotion for this product. Look at that. There's this giant spike on the 19th of last year in October. Why was that the case? And, so before you just make decisions, you have to look at the trend lines, you have to see everything, but everything is data forward in AdBeacon. So you can feel confident when you start making promotions and offers. Now, there's also let's see what we can really get down to. We love the customer geography report. And this is the most simple thing, but it is probably the most genius thing. I love that our team uses this. Green versus blue. Okay, so green is revenue. Blue is orders. Looks like, maybe we'll do a Q&A again right now. Where do you guys feel like there is potential to start targeting? What cities do you feel like you could really start pushing in there? And Sabir, let me know if anyone comments. I think you get them in the chat.
I just opened up chat to everyone. Just make sure that you select everyone when you're posting your questions so Phoenix can see it.
Yes.
Ben has been great, by the way, on your team. He's been responding to some questions.
Ben's awesome.
Joy says it's Miami.
Miami. Okay. Yep. So you're right, Joy. And here's a couple of things that some people don't put two and two together, but this group will do it easily. There might be more purchasing power in Miami and Austin and San Diego. You might not even realize it because look, the volume of orders is so low, but look how high the revenue bar is. So if we start targeting those areas, maybe they just have more purchasing power and we haven't been giving them that much attention. We have to work much harder for someone in Las Vegas to have as much revenue as it would be for Miami, Austin, or San Diego. So again, now you have opportunity. Now you can start to engage and see, oh, wait, there's more here. Some fun things. Like I said, it's a genius report. It's so simple, but it's so easy to understand. And we do this again down to the coupon code level. So you might have a lot of influence. Sabir, I think you talked about influencers briefly. And this client has a full team of influencers. They call them the cadre team. And they're basically like, just their team. And what they say is like, use my code for XYZ percentage off. But what if we found out that one of their team members drives far more revenue than volume of orders? So their demographic has much more purchasing power. There's also maybe one team drives a lot of orders, but very little revenue. And I showed you in the new versus returning report, we even get down to the coupon level. What if one influencer only drives returning customers and does not drive new customers at all? You might go, oh, well, then I don't want to work with them. Well, no, because it's much cheaper to go for that person than maybe it is on all your paid channels to re-engage. So now you're getting way more sophisticated with how you speak to people. And then there's a lifetime value we were just talking about. I won't go.
One basic summary there for everybody, I would say is put the money where it's the most productive. It should not matter. You're not married to Meta. You're not married to Google. You're not married to any specific, influencers or anything like that. In fact, maybe it's not even a marketing channel. I mean, Tony Hsieh from Zappos put all of his marketing dollars into shipping and returns, right? So when you're thinking about it, it should be the highest returns that you're getting with the highest velocity. You can find a good middle ground to that and invest in that section. Don't think that, it has to be within the campaigns inside of Meta. No, maybe you're going to shut down 50% of your Meta ads and then move it over to an influencer because the data shows you that that's the way you're supposed to go.
Absolutely. Which is actually, in our overview dashboard, this is high level. We can go by channel. I was showing you new versus returning, but let's just look at all customers in linear. I can now tell you every single channel and how it's contributing or contributing to the overall. So you might have thought paid search was fantastic, but it's only a 0.062 across the entire thing. It's linear. So again, remember, like this is across all clicks. It's not as strong. It's actually paid social that's stronger, which is very rare, by the way. Usually Google is way stronger than Meta, but sometimes it's different. And like Sabir just said, you are not married to any one platform. And then look at all these referrals. So $14,000 in revenue came from expertvoice.com. Like what? That's so random. And it's so interesting to look at. So now as you go to your affiliate channels, maybe you want to spend a little bit more time with these affiliates and reinvesting. And then you've got organic social here where we can tell you Meta, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, what's driving the most revenue. It's interesting that Facebook and Instagram is almost split, but this is only organic. So being able to see this view is huge. Again, spend where it makes sense. Spend with the highest productivity and profitability. I won't go too far in depth with all of the features. We have so many of them, and I want to really get down to the things that matter. And I'll end it on this note, and I'll give you kind of synopsis of who I am, guys, because again, I did this backwards, but when you start making decisions of lifetime value and re-engaging your customers, because that's what matters, is them coming back. That's the sustainability of your business. You want to know what they're most likely going to buy next. And I think what we got really mixed up in marketing is we force people to buy what we think they need next. We don't actually look at the data and go, well, this is what people are actually buying next. Why don't we give them what they want? So here, we're able to show you the top 10 products they bought in the last 3, 6 to 12 months. This is all your customer data and what they're most likely going to buy next based off of what we've seen. So this is all hard data. This is not predictive modeling. This is what actually people have bought next. So right away, I know that they're going to buy this SKU. 2% of them bought this SKU and then bought this SKU next. 70% of them never bought anything ever again. So even though this is the top product, it's not really driving people to buy again, which is kind of sad, right? Or we look at the next 12 months and maybe a longer period of time, they do buy something else, but this is great. And it went down to 60% instead of 70%, which is good. Now, something to consider that I like in this report. I have another client. Oh, it's not popping up here. Here we go. Oh, took it off. So I have another client that does apparel, and what they do is they have all the different sizing, right? So they thought, and I did this with Sabir, they thought that their core demographic was a size large or medium. And when we did this report for them, we found out quickly that they were a size extra, extra large. And it was like 90% of this report here was extra, extra large. Then we went and saw what were people buying next, and they were actually buying extra, extra, extra large as the next one. So what does that tell us, guys? That tells us that either our sizing is off or our key demographic is consistently getting larger. And I'm going to go with the sizing is off, right? So these are some huge, huge things we can take note of, understand. And then Joy said, can your system analyze creatives we're using on Meta? Yes, it can. I skipped over that. And I'm so glad you said this. So we have a creative dashboard right here. It goes from Meta, TikTok.
I was about to ask you. I said, you're leaving the biggest thing on the table here. You can actually manage your ads in here, right?
Yes, you can manage your ads in Meta or in AdBeacon. So before I even go into this, let me kind of show you some bells and whistles to get you guys excited. You can go in here and turn on and off campaigns, ad sets, and ads. You can scale budgets within the platform. You can actually look at the ad level and go, oh, I don't remember what this looks like. And you click on it and it'll show you exactly what the ad looks like with the social proof to know where you're at. So this one right here, you're about to see gun holsters. See if it'll load in my demo account. Here we go. There's the social proof. But what's really cool about this, I told you, is what if I only wanted to optimize off of new customers? I know that paid social is better at new customers than returning. So I'm only going to go after new customers. What's really cool too is I actually, for example, what if you're an apparel brand and you only want to sell women's clothing on Meta? You don't want to sell your men's clothing, or you have a women's campaign only. You send them all to the women's product pages, but there's no guarantee they're only going to buy women's products, right? They could go across the site, buy other things. So we can actually tell you definitively what people are buying through this product report based off of your ads. So I know that we're showcasing that Incog X holster. Thank goodness the majority was the Incog X, but there's also all these other different holsters. The reason why this feature came about was because I had a client who yelled at me and was like, hey, you need to turn this ad off. It's not producing any sales. And I'm like, no, it's driving a lot of sales. And he's like, well, to what products? Because it's not this product that we're showcasing. And at the time I couldn't tell him because Meta can't tell you that. Google can't tell you that. No one can tell you that. So I was able to work with our team, and now we can tell you definitively what SKU. So now you can optimize your landing pages, create bundle deals, increase AOV. There's so much you can do with this. And the last little bell and whistle before I go into the creative dashboard is we actually have something called a Chrome extension. So for people like myself who are purists that don't like change, we actually can go in here, drag this out, and all the AdBeacon data can overlay on top of Meta, so you can make better decisions and you can feel more confident and go, oh, okay, that's the actual revenue, X, Y, and Z. Now, to the bread and butter, the creative dashboard. Let's see if are you guys still on my screen? It's jumping everywhere. We're good? Okay. So this creative dashboard, let's go with full impact, is for Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, and there's also this creative comparison. What's really cool about this is you can dissect by image only, video only, copy only, image and copy variations, and video and copy variations. Why this is so cool is because now you're able to look by attribution window, by new versus returning customers, all customers. You can sort by first-party data to prove that this actually happened. You can look at it from this table chart of what is and isn't working. My personal favorite is actually this card because I can see it visually. What we do differently is we pull something called your image hash. So a lot of you guys will duplicate ads, right, across your account. There could be 15 versions of the same image all across your account. So I just want to know how that image is performing. So you can see here there are 3 ads that showcase this exact image, and this is how it's performing. We also are able to show you a trend line if there's ad fatigue or creative fatigue over time. And again, we have proof behind every single purchase. So this will tell you volume versus revenue, our favorite chart. And again, my favorite right now that we just entered into the chat, I like to say, is this creative comparison report. So we can actually tell you off Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, or Snapchat, do images do better? Do videos do better? Or do carousels do better? Really cool. Because then now you can double down and go, okay, well, clearly my video does way better. And it's really frustrating sometimes. I don't know if you guys are doing the media buying or if you have a media buying team, they only show you one ad. And they're like, this one ad's doing really well. So you need to invest all your money into this one ad type. But why don't we look at it across the board and really make data-driven decisions? All right, I'm going through some of the comments in here to see if I miss anything. Yes, Triple Whale is a competitor of AdBeacon. Some things that are a little bit different from us is we are a click attribution only platform. So we decided a long time ago that we only do click because we, like I said, I only want you to optimize off of data you can prove. A lot of my competitors will blend view metrics and it's their own proprietary attribution model. Again, it's your style. We decided not to go in that direction. Let's see. I don't start the Rapid 2X until September, but can you connect me with, yep, we'll help you out across the way. All right, guys. So I'll end it here and we'll do a little Q&A if you're open to it, Sabir, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of a background as to why we even started this platform. I'm so sorry, but I'm a media buyer. So is Ben. Ben is a part of our team. I still do some media buying from time to time. That has been my bread and butter. I alluded that I used to be the director of paid social at an agency in Los Angeles. I lost 40% of my book of business when iOS 14 hit. I'll never admit it, but I did or did not cry. I was panicking. I was like, what are we going to do? And the CEO at the time came up to me and was like, figure it out. So I started venting out loud on different Facebook groups. And I was like, well, I pivoted with this and we were winning with that. And we were. And then CAPI, conversion API, was introduced. We used that. And there were still so many issues. And then I found out my now competitors. I found out about Northbeam, Triple Whale, HiROAS, all these platforms. I'm like, this is cool. This is awesome. And I used them myself. And I felt like there was this one giant hole. There was nothing built for the tacticians and for the media buyers. There's nothing built based off of the tech stack we needed. So we built this. It's no longer just for the brand owners. It's actually for the teams that scale your brands. And we believed in transparency. So this is our love letter to media buyers and teams. This is why we've built it. But there's a little background to me. And I hope this was helpful, guys. If you have any questions, feel free.
Thank you, Phoenix. Really appreciate you presenting all this and going through it. You know, the most important thing I would say is that you know, when you are looking at the wrong information, that could be detrimental to your business. You know, and when you are, you know, you trust the data you're looking at. You know, whether you're looking at Google Analytics and you hope that that's the source of truth, and everything Google, whether it's Google search, you know, organic search or Google Ads or YouTube, it will give more credit to that, you know, that the attribution went there because it makes sense from a monetary standpoint. It's highly biased from that perspective, and the same applies to Meta. But here, not only this platform helps you with the proper attribution, but also tells you about the product, about especially customer RFM is very big in my book, right? To understand like who are your best customers. I call them VIPs. You know, who are your best customers, and based on that, you want to model. Based on that, you want to model your lookalike audiences and other types of testing you want to do, or at least feed it as a signal to Google, for example, so that you know their AI and ML understands what great looks like for you, for your brand specifically, right? And that's one of the reasons, like even when you look at you know, automated campaigns like Advantage Plus and Performance Max, as long as you're giving it good signals and great signals, where in this case, if because your signal is pure signal, is first party data, that's a much better signal to give them than what they think is the right signal. So that could be you know, really hurtful for your business if you are basing your decisions on wherever you're spending your money on, that it's giving you that you know, that data, and that could be really bad for you, you know, from that perspective.
Sabir, I have something to show you guys really quickly before I head out, and I think you'll love this. And we were talking about the inflation of data of view versus click, and I don't know if I showed this to you, Sabir, when we spoke, but I separated 1-day view versus 7-day click in this Meta account just to show you how bad the reporting is, guys. And how you would read this is that if these two numbers added up, it would equate to this purchase conversion value number. So this is what you guys are seeing. Okay, so you're seeing the 291, and your default when you create a Meta a campaign is 7-day click, 1-day view. That's the default. Now it's saying that $200,000 was attributed to 1 day of viewing, but only 90 to 91,000 was attributed to clicking within 7 days. So this is a huge lean towards 1-day view versus any clicking. And I told you guys, I don't know what the view metrics are that make up this 1-day view, right? So when you guys were going back to your Shopify, WooCommerce, and BigCommerce stores, and you're like, this makes no sense. Why is it saying I made $25,000 and I only have $15,000 in my account? This is what I'm trying to explain to you. And this is why we only go off of click data. So didn't mean to interrupt you, Sabir. I just wanted to really show hard numbers and explain why this is such a big thing of saving money.
Yeah, I mean, the habit should be, I think, Phoenix, that you have the AdBeacon dashboard up there as you're analyzing your campaigns. Like literally, you're making the decision there on one window here, on the half of the window here. This AdBeacon gives you the decision there, based on your data. And on the right-hand side, all you're doing is you're turning things off. You're turning things off or you're turning things up based on, because sometimes it's possible that it might be underreporting because it gave too much attribute to something else that it should not have, right? And then you may need to increase that. There has been situations where I would say that if you look at the data on the Meta dashboard or Google, if you make decisions there, you might be shutting things off. You should not, and then you're turning things up, increasing your budget or whatever in the wrong places, so that it's completely misaligned. That's completely misaligned from that perspective, you know. Craig asked something about thought metrics. I personally have not heard of thought metrics myself either, you know. Yeah, sorry about that, Craig, but he seems to be using it in his business.
I'm looking into them right now. I'll let you know.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I mean, if the forum is open for Q&A, if you guys can, you know, some of you guys were asking while Phoenix was presenting, thank you for that. But the rest of you, as you guys are looking at this, any questions that come to mind, just pop it into the chat window. Just make sure that it's selected everyone when you're, otherwise it would just show up to me. So I have a question for you, Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
When I come across platforms like yours, right, where it's actually giving me that first party data, the obvious thing is, yeah, I'm becoming more productive on Meta and Google, and I'm becoming smarter, right? Have you done any kind of analysis with your case studies with your clients to see net, because at the end of the day, when your ROAS is improving, your profitability is improving, right? Your cash flow is improving. Do you get to that level? Maybe even if it's off platform, that the clients have told you how the profitability of their business has improved?
Yeah, so we do we actually have a 30, 60, 90-day report already built into AdBeacon. And what it does is it pulls all of your metrics just to see high level if you're improving or you're not improving. And that was like super, super big for us. So let me share my screen really quickly. I just randomly grabbed an account, and this one is the one, like, I think it's when they started with us a long time ago. So what it'll do is it'll show you over the last 30, 60, and 90 days, are you going up or down in terms of spend, revenue? And this is your store metrics, ROAS, click, orders, CPC. So it's not by channel, it's just profitability across the board. And then this is something to really take note of. So we also believe it's in direct relation, this is my dummy account, direct relation to usage of the platform. So what we do is we show you how much you've used the platform, what you've done, and if it contributed to the rise in performance. And that's something that we like to keep ourselves accountable with. So if you go into the report section, there's a 30, 60, 90-day report to answer your question. And yes, we show you directly.
Amazing. Amazing. Actually, Joy asked another a follow-up question that's really good. If you remember when you and I had chatted, you know, I brought this up to myself. Historical data. So Joy goes in, she signs up today, right? Today is day 0, right? Day 0 because until you enable it, you know, it's still day 0. So it's day 0, and then she connects it to her Shopify. She has been in business 3 years, 5 years, 18 months, whatever that historical data is. One, how much of that data gets pulled in, and where does it get used on day 0? Meaning that is AdBeacon productive literally from day 0 because you're pulling all this historical data?
Yeah, so we can pull all historical data 365 days prior with your Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce store data. When it comes to your channel data, that starts the minute you start our UTM tracking and our pixel tracking. So when it comes to channel specific metrics and attribution, that starts the day you integrate with us. And I like to give it at least 7 days to 14 days, depending on your life cycle of how long it takes for you to acquire a customer, because then that data will be far more robust. But yeah, it starts channel data starts the day that you integrate with us. Now, in terms of new versus returning customer data on a product and coupon code level, all that, we can pull that immediately. RFM, we can pull that immediately, right? All those things that are not channel specific, we can pull.
And then based on that historical data, you could build out the audiences.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, immediately.
So
and then,
let me, yeah, go ahead.
I'm reading them too with you. So we're reading all the comments.
Yeah, I was about to go to the next one. Maria says, do you feel that Elevar blot out, I've heard of blot out myself, and Omega Pixels help optimize meta efficiency, and does AdBeacon have experience with accounts using these?
Yeah, so Elevar, Blotout, and Omega Pixels are good, and I will be completely transparent with you where my thoughts are. So OCT is what you're basically speaking to, offline conversion tracking, but also just feeding the data back to the algorithm to make it more enriched. We were thinking about this too, but what we quickly realized is often our data showcases less conversions, not always, sometimes it's more, less conversions than what Meta is reporting. And what I've seen is that while it's enriching the data, it will usually just ping what is greater. They use the third party like us to enrich their data to validate what they're doing more. So if the number is lower, it's almost like it doesn't matter. So that's why I think it's really fun to be bullish on Meta when it comes to our platform, because you can still manually push spend in directions depending on what you're seeing. With Google, it's a little more challenging where we do see this OCT. So we are actually creating OCT directly for Google. And then that way it does optimize based off of what they're seeing with us. So what I've seen and what I've heard, I haven't personally used Elevar, Blotout, and Omega. I have heard great things. However, I have also heard things like it didn't really move the needle that much. It just showed that it enriched. So again, I'm speaking to what I've heard, not what I've done with them. We are compatible with, I believe it's not Elevar, but Blotout and Omega. Elevar does this weird thing. Their setup is extremely complex, and it will let us pair with them, but it's a little bit more of like a hand-holding situation where we have to work with their teams. We can do that. I have no clients that are on Elevar right now and us. They usually feel like it's redundant to have both. So just as a heads up to you there. I hope that answered your question. It's kind of a hard question to ask or answer.
So the next one is Yusuf Shaheen says, does AdBeacon require a complex setup process? We tried Decity, but stopped setup due to complex setup process.
No, so it's very simple, and we are a white glove service. So we do not charge you until you are completely set up with us. So that's really important to us. Don't pay for something you can't use. That's first things first. Secondarily, simple. So integrations with platforms are literally a couple clicks away. And then when it comes to Shopify, we have our own app. We have multiple videos. We have written ways to do it, but we actually are on a call with you and do it with you. So if you don't want to talk to us, we have resources for you, and they're very simple and easy to understand, but we'd prefer to be there with you and help you get started.
So Maria says, what if I have multiple ad accounts in Meta?
That's a good question. So if you have multiple ad accounts for one domain, we can only service one ad account at a time per channel for that one domain. Now, if you have multiple domains, so you have like one, multiple businesses, we just create them as separate accounts under your umbrella. The reason why multiple ad accounts becomes super complex is because it's the crossover, and it just gets really, really, really crazy. So we decided at very young that we weren't going to do that.
Okay. Dan says, I have a fairly new store and I'm only turning over 5K per month at the moment with very little profit. Do you have a pricing model that would work for me?
A fairly new store. I'm only turning over.
Dan, by the way, Dan has a very interesting business. I'm not going to say it, but but it's 5K a month.
We do have a pricing model that works for you. You also get a deal with being from Sabir. We can walk you through that as well. We just need to make sure within your margins, this makes sense. I'm a firm believer that I never want you to pay for a platform if it's going to hurt you more than help you. So we can discuss that, see if it fits within and you're still in a profitable state and you feel confident, and we can talk about that.
Okay. So Joy says, when you say building out audiences, you mean using your lookalike or retargeting? It's weird that my ROAS performance for my retargeting ads on Meta worse than my cold traffic ads. That's the example you were showing earlier, by the way.
Yep.
Logically, I would think the ROAS would be worse on my cold traffic ads.
You would think so, but okay, there's a couple things I will say about this. And Sabir, you can be like, shut up, I don't believe in what you're saying, because like different ad buyers, different mentalities. So a lot of people are going after ASC and Performance Max, right? And these are all like these black box, like that's what we're going towards. And we would assume that ASC is only going towards new customers, right? Because you set a percentage of what it should go for returning customers. What I quickly realized when we plugged a lot of accounts into AdBeacon, it's not the case at all. It's going after a high percentage of returning customers. And it's because it's trying to get the acquisition at the cheapest price, right? It's trying to do its job as well as it possibly can. So doesn't surprise me. Now, if you're just doing open audience, I've seen that do better than retargeting. I've seen a lot of retargeting burnout, because how are they supposed to know who those people are as robust as they did before? Like I said, data privacy and security has made them handcuffed to be able to get that data as accurate as possible. So you asked that question, Joy, of tell me more about audience building. So I told you, we have these audiences already created and you can integrate directly with the platforms. But actually, what I didn't show you is you can create your own custom audiences within AdBeacon based off of criteria here, like lifetime value, RFM scores. Like Sabir might have a different RFM score combination he wants you to utilize, country, customer ID, first order date, all of this, right? You can stack it. So one of my favorite ones I've been using is accepts email marketing, but not SMS, because if you have email and SMS, the close rate of SMS is high. And if you have both, it's even higher. Easy money. One of my favorite ones is accepts email marketing and purchasers with AOV over $150. This ignore my hand thumbs up thing. It's like the responsive thing on Zoom. But this is how you would integrate and directly target. And like I said, you can create lookalike audiences based off of your champions. So I want to find more people like my champions. The reason why this is a game changer is because we have far more data than Meta is allowed to have. In other words, we have all that customer data all the way down to IP to be able to transfer back to Meta to find better people like the people that you've had in the past. And also what we do as well is it dynamically updates every day. So you don't have to keep doing uploads like you did prior in the past. This continuously feeds back into Meta. So it's just something nice to look at and start testing.
Very nice. And with that, I would say that Phoenix, thank you for presenting and taking all the questions. This was definitely very educational and very useful. For the community, my team will be posting links with a special offer we have from AdBeacon, so that you can definitely try that out. Especially you, Dan, you'll see that and you'll get in touch with them. It is a white glove service, so you can definitely take those kind of next steps. I look forward to, with this, especially with the rapid 2Xers who were in the audience, and they will be watching this also afterwards in the recording. This is what we have been preaching, right? So this is something that I know that behind it, if you have, and the term I use, Phoenix, earlier you were talking about, you want data not to be passive, right? So I actually call it actionable data.
Yep.
That's the phrase I use, actionable data. So, it's, you want your data to be actionable, but you want the right data to be actionable, right? If you're looking at the wrong thing, that might be devastating for your business. So thank you for presenting AdBeacon to our community here. And as you can see, everyone's very hungry to be doing the right things by their business. So thank you very much.
Joy, I was there with
Joy
you.
says that she's scared to see her ROAS after it's cleaned. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. You want to make sure that you're looking at the right things and you're fixing the right things in the business, and that's how you start scaling to the moon. Thank you very much again, and have a nice day until next time, community. Bye. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.